everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Kathy at Attic Treasures, etc. And I have a fun project to share with you today. But first I also wanted to share this lovely happy mail that I received from my dear friend Carla. And she's on Instagram at Cards by Carla, all one word, and that's Kards by Karla. So you should follow her on Instagram. She does some beautiful, beautiful work. So I have these lovely journal cards that I'll be putting into journals soon. These three are just absolutely gorgeous. And some beautiful tags that she made, and I just love them. Her work is absolutely beautiful. I just love it. Then there's this lovely little envelope as a removable, and it's got this little Velcro tab. Now, Carla, I have to ask you, where did you get these little Velcro tabs? Because the one that I have are really aggressive, so I'd love to know your source for those. Anyway, isn't this beautiful? So you can use it in a journal as a removable, as in a tuck spot or a pocket, as a place to do some journaling and writing on. So that's lovely. And then this beautiful envelope, this lovely fussy cut. I love owls and all birds. And then these beautiful cards that are reproductions from a Victorian artist. And then, as if those weren't enough, here's this beautiful book. It's a reproduction of an antique book with these changing pictures, and probably from the days, before video games and things like that. But it's so much fun to see these pictures turn in here, and then you can see it change, and it goes along with the story on the other side. So this is going to take some thinking and planning on how to use it in a journal, and I'm really excited about it. Okay, so thank you, Carla. That was lovely of you. I am getting very close to finishing up this journal, and in the center of each signature, I've been trying to have something really nice. So it's a little booklet that I made out of an envelope. It's a pocket booklet, so I have a pocket here, and a pocket here, and a pocket in the top on both sides. So it has 4 pockets for tags and journal cards and things like that. Now on this particular one, I used Music Page and some collage paper from Tim Holtz, and I used the Aviary and the Botanical by in his Ideology collection, and I really, really like using those. But what I would like to do today, since a lot of people may not have those particular collections, I'm just going to show you how to do it with just a regular old napkin. And then the other thing that I wanted to show you how to do is same type of thing, but a little different technique. No collaging involved on this one. Same sort of concept though. So we'll do both of these as we have time. All right, so the envelopes that I'm going to be using are just some regular invitation envelopes. They come in assorted pastel colors, and I don't know why they show pink here, because I never had pink in this box, but that's all right. Anyway, I got it at Staples, who knows how long ago. So I'm going to take these 2 out. They're a neutral color. And the napkin that I'm going to be using is this set of napkins from the dollar store. And I like using these. Personally, I prefer the collage paper because I think it's easier to work with, but I also really like using the napkins. So why don't we go ahead and get started. At the end of the video, there will be instructions that you can print out, or actually not print out, well, you can screenshot them and print them out. Y para mis amigos españoles, hay instrucciones en español final de video. Puede tomar una captura de pantalla y imprimirla para seguirla. Okay, so I have this envelope, and the concept is that the flap here will form the 2 pockets on the inside, and when you fold it, this is going to be the front, this is going to be the back, and then you'll have pockets in here like that. So to form the pockets, the first thing I need to do is shave off a little bit of this edge. I'm just going to grab my ruler We're just going to shave off a little bit because we got to open it up. Now there are probably going to be like some loose flaps, as you can see right there, and we want to glue those down. So I'm just grabbing some art glitter glue and just gluing these down. So that's all you want to glue down for now. You don't want to glue this down because we're gonna decoupage on here, and it's going to be a lot easier to decoupage the napkin on once it's all the way open. And also we're going to do some sewing on this, although you don't have to sew. I will demonstrate the sewing option, but I'll also explain how you can do it without sewing as well. All right, so we're going to open the flap and apply the Mod Podge to the outside of the envelope. Now remember that when this is done, you're going to be opening up, having things in the pockets like that. So this, what used to be the bottom of the envelope, is actually going to be the top of the booklet. So if you have napkin that has a directional feel to it or a directional pattern, you want to make sure that you're putting it on in the up position. Otherwise, you know, it doesn't really matter. But we're going to do this side first. And we need the flap open. To get the napkin ready for decoupaging, we need to take off the bottom layers. And I like using tape to do that. See? Isn't that easy? Okay. So we'll just take that apart. All right, so, and again, depending on where you want the napkin, you know, what part of the pattern you want to show, kind of helps you decide where you want to place the napkin. So if I want to see the whole bird on the inside, this little hummingbird right here, I'll put the napkin here like that. So in order to place the napkin, we need to put some Mod Podge on here. And I just keep mine in this little Rubbermaid container. So I'm just going to apply Mod Podge. I'm going to make sure that I get it all the way to the edges, but I don't want to get in this area here. Now I wanted that bird to show, so I'm going to try to carefully place it just like that. Now you can use, this is a brayer, and you can use a brayer to get out the bubbles, the air bubbles. And you can also use like a gift card or something like this. Now if you see that that you've got a bubble on here that you'd like to get rid of, you can just try pressing it down. The other thing that you can do is release the air by poking a little hole with a pin, and then that releases the air. And then you just want to cut away any excess. And we also want to remove this section here. And you can open it up like this. We'll get that down. And cut away with scissors if you want to. But there's another way that you might try with a brush and some water. This is a little brush pen. You just fill it up with water and you kind of just outline the edge. And then once the napkin gets wet, it's pretty easy to tear along there. And then it's easier to trim after that too. And you don't need to worry about trimming it perfectly because eventually this flap will be folded up and it will cover that anyway. Okay, so that's an easy way to remove excess. Now, the next step is to apply a second coat of Mod Podge to the top. Now you can either let it dry naturally, go do something else, or you can use a heat tool. And I like this this heated craft tool, and it's by Ranger. I like it. It's not as forceful as like an embossing tool or something like that. It's nice and quiet, but it does a nice job of just heating it up so that the glue will cure. You might have to go back and smooth out some of the bubbles, and that's okay. You want to be careful so that you don't tear the napkin. Right, so now we're going to do the flap, and the flap is going to fold up on this way so that it comes up and forms the pocket. So I'm going to apply some more Mod Podge just to the flap area. And remember, if you're doing something that's directional, if you're using a napkin that has a specific direction, like words or paper that has a direction, make sure that you know which way is facing up. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to try to line it up with that hummingbird that's sitting there. And I can do that simply by laying the paper this way so that the hummingbird, I can kind of see through it. And it might not be perfectly straight, but it'll be enough. Okay, so I want to make sure that we get this flattened out, and I'm going to trim away the excess. Now it's all lined up with the flowers and the bird and everything else. And that was super simple to do. So, you know, don't shy away from trying to line it up if you want to. Trimming around the edges here, and then we're going to put some more Mod Podge over the top of that. Okay, so we've got the flap and this part covered, and they match. Not that that's really all that necessary, but I like it. So we can do this part now. Now remember, this side is up. This is where the pocket openings are going to be. So we want the napkin to be facing, or you know, have the direction up, be like that. And then again, if I want a bird on the front, I just need to position my napkin in such a way that there's a bird where I can see it. Or if I want the flowers to be on the front, which is fine too, I would position it like that. So whatever way suits your fancy, that's the way you would do it. And I think I'll do it with the flowers on the front. When you're cutting away the excess, you want to make sure that you're not cutting any part of the envelope. The nice thing about this project is that you can use any size envelope as long as it'll fit in your journal when it's folded in half. And you can use anything you want to cover it. Like for instance, on this one, I used a combination of the collage paper and some music sheet book page. So it doesn't have to be a napkin. Now we're just, of course, putting the top coat of Mod Podge on to seal it. This helps protect the napkin. And it gives it a very nice feel too. When we are ready to glue the flap down, you can make a decision whether you want the flaps to be on the front of your little booklet or on the inside of your little booklet. It's totally up to you. And one thing you can do as well when you get to this stage is you can file the edges a little bit and get rid of some of maybe the little fuzzy edges that are wanting to come off. Okay, I'm going to ink the edges, particularly around the flap. And I'm using Wild Honey Distress ink because I think it matches this little gold flower in here and because I really like the color. And then we'll go over to the sewing machine. I'll set that up so that you can see how I sew it around. And again, that particular step is not necessary, but I just wanted to show you how I do it in case you have a sewing machine that you can do this with. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set up over on the sewing machine and we'll get started over there. Be right back. Okay, so I'm getting ready to sew. What I want to do is I want to sew around this edge right here, but to do that, obviously I can't this way. But what I have is what's called a free arm machine, and if you have one, you can do it easily too. So I just take that section off, and now I can open up my envelope and put it just like so. Okay, so I'm just going to do a straight stitch. I've got it set to a setting where the stitches are a little bit long so I don't poke too many holes. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew around. using my free arm here. That's what this is called. This is the free arm part of the sewing machine. And if you have one of these, they're quite handy. Now I'm just going to go right over the top of the other stitching and pull it out and cut my thread. And I leave the tails kind of long so I can tie a knot when I'm all done. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to sew around this flap. I don't need the free arm for this part of it, so I'm just going to do it from the back. And again, sewing is totally optional. I just happen to like the way it looks. When I get to the point here, I'm going to pivot, and by pivoting, I'm going to leave my needle in the down position and then just pivot like that. I lift up the presser foot and then pivot the envelope. And I'm just going to sew right off the edge, just like that. So that's all sewn. Now I want to sew this edge, and I need the free arm for that. So I'm going to put it back on here like that. This is the other reason you might want to ink the edges before you start to sew, because it's a lot easier to see and to line it up. Actually, I shouldn't have started right in the center. I should have started at the end, because I'm not going to go all the way around. But we'll just sew to the end and then we'll go back. Now, if I were not sewing, I would simply glue this flap down in the center and then fold it in half, and my booklet is basically done. But I am going to sew it down the center, but first I'm going to sew up and down both sides. To make it easier to see where I need to sew up the center, I'm going to go ahead and ink that part up a little bit. Now I can see. And I'm just going to sew it, and then that will close the pockets. Now obviously I have a lot of threads to clip, and that's perfectly okay. But what you have now is this cute little booklet that you can embellish any way you want. So let's go back over to my craft table and finish it up. All right, now that we're all done sewing and I've clipped all the threads, if we want to, we can round the corners a little bit. Just going to use my little corner chomper here, using the 1/4 inch radius. So I was thinking a little butterfly here would look nice. See, you have a pocket here, and a pocket here, and a pocket there, pocket here. Now the sewing around the edges does give it a little bit of structure. You can do the same thing with washi tape though. So you know, you don't have to have a sewing machine to make these. You can wrap raffia or twine or yarn or something like that around it. You can put a little eyelet here and here and make a little closure that way. You can sew a little signature in here if you like and make a nice little booklet, which would make a great gift for somebody. The next one is super quick, and it's this style. If you have one of these little Cuttlebug machines or a Sizzix or something like that, this is basically what you want to do, what you want to use. And I'm using the same type of envelope, and I'm using this embossing folder. Now this embossing folder is a little bit smaller than the envelope, but that's okay. I'm going to kind of position it in here, you know, in such a way that I'm just going to cut off this edge anyway, and then the only part that won't be embossed is right here, which is no big deal if you're going to ink that edge up anyway, or you could put some lace or something like that on there if that bothers you. But I'm not going to let it bother me. All right, so this doesn't really have any direction, so it doesn't really matter how I put it on. But I just want to make sure that the top that's not going to be, or the edge, the long edge that's not going to be embossed is the one that I'm going to cut open. So I'm going to put it like that. Open this up, and this has the base plate. I hope you can see. Maybe I need to back out a little bit more. Whoops. Yeah, okay. Then you have one of these plates on the bottom. And then you put the embossing folder in like that. And then another plate on the top. and then you just crank it through, and it takes a little bit of muscle to do it, but you know, we're crafting all the time. How else are we going to keep in shape? There we go. Can you see that? Now you can totally just leave it like this if you want to, but we want to make it better. All right, so I'm going to cut off the edge here. Now you need to kind of release the flap, because when you emboss this, what happens is that the pattern kind of sticks, and you need to do it carefully because it can tear. We can take some distress ink or oxide or whatever you want to do, whatever you want to use, and just skim across the top of that embossing, and it brings it all out, and it's so pretty. You can do as much or as little as you like. You can even do more than one color. Now this is the debossed side. So now I think I will use some peacock feathers. And you can take this and go lightly over the top in a few sections too, to give it a little bit more color, which I think is really pretty. Gives a little bit of a boho look, I think. All right, I really like that. Now all we need to do is glue this flap down. Put a little bead of glue in there, and voila. Fold it in half. And again, because it is embossed, it can be a little bit more fragile, so I'm going to put some washi tape to reinforce that edge. And to make sure that it sticks, I'm going to reinforce it with some glue. You can use fabric or seam tape, or whatever you want to do this, but it's a good idea to reinforce that edge, or that spine, I guess is what you would call it. And I would also recommend doing it on the inside as well. And then this is another one that you can embellish any way you like. I thought for this one I would put these flowers on here. And just like on the butterfly, I'm going to ink it up a little bit to get rid of those white edges. Now that particular embossing folder that I have there has a lot of pattern on it. I have others that don't have quite as much pattern, and they can be used as well. Just basically whatever you want. And you can also, of course, add stamps or butterflies, or whatever strikes your fancy. Just depends on what kind of journal you're making. If you're going to put them in a journal, like the one that I made, I'm actually going to make it the center part of the signature. Okay, so we made these two little envelopes. They're both a little bit different, or these two little booklets from envelopes. One is embossed and one is decoupaged. And you can do any number of things with these in your journal, or use as happy mail, as gifts, to send to somebody, or just keep in your purse. Okay, so there we have it. Now I promised some instructions on how to make these, some written ones that you can take screenshots of and print out, but they're still on my printer, so I need to go get them, and I shall be right back. All right, here are the instructions. These are the instructions in English for making these mini envelope folios. So if you like, you can take a screenshot and then print those out. And para mis amigos españoles, en español. Well, again, I hope you had fun today. I enjoyed making these. These are super simple, lots of fun, and they have a lot of uses in your junk journals, or, like I said, to send in happy mail. So if you did like this, please give me a thumbs up. Also, subscribe if you haven't done so already. I really appreciate everyone's comments as well, and I do answer every one. So please feel free to leave me a comment and hit the notification bell as well so that you'll be notified when I upload new content. So thanks a lot for joining me today. I hope you all have a great day, and we'll see you in my next video. Also, don't forget to let the serendipity find you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.